Okay, so I think that's really, really impressive. I'm not just running one hypervisor on this M2 MacBook Air, but I'm running 4 hypervisors at the same time. I'm running VirtualBox on a Mac. I'm running VMWare Fusion. I'm running UTM, and I'm running Parallels at the same time. I've got virtual machines booted up, different types of architectures, x86 architectures. As an example, this is Windows 98. I've got an ARM kalilinux running. I've also got a Mac running at the same time. If I was using an Intel MacBook or an Intel Windows computer to do this, it would crash. I've had no success running multiple hypervisors at the same time with different virtual machine architectures at the same time. Typically on an Intel processor or AMD, it just crashes. What's been your experience? What do you think about this? Let's talk more about how I've set this up using different hypervisors. Now, in previous videos, I've discussed some of my hesitations of the M1, M2 architecture when running virtual machines, especially with x86 or 64 architectures. Based on the feedback on that video and based on comments and questions that I've received, as well as the fact that VirtualBox 7.0 has just been released literally 2 days ago at the time of this recording, I thought I'd revisit this and have a look at the various hypervisors and how good they are running on an M2 MacBook. One of the changes with VirtualBox is they have a developer preview for macOS AMD 64 M1, M2 hosts. So that's a really good reason to test this. So in this example, I'm using a MacBook Air M2 2022. It's got 24 gig of RAM in it. So I've got VirtualBox running. Here is TinyCore running within VirtualBox. Here is Alpine Linux running within VirtualBox. So as an example, uname-a, you can see I'm running Linux here, Alpine Linux. But at the same time, and this is what I find really impressive, I have got UTM running with multiple virtual machines. I've got Win98, so old architecture. You can imagine that that's not going to be supported on an M1, M2 natively. I've also got an ARM kalilinux running at the same time. So this is an ARM virtual machine, and this is x86 architecture. And then what I can do at the same time is x64 as an example. So I could run Windows 10, or in this example, I'll start Windows 8. So I've got Windows 8 here, not a great operating system, but just to prove the point, Windows 8 running at the same time as Windows 98, running at the same time as ARM. So in this case, kalilinux ARM. And if that's not enough, I'm also running VMware Fusion. To take it a step further, I'm also running Parallels, and here I've got macOS running. So as an example, about Mac, you can see it says Apple Virtual Machine 1, chip is Apple M2 Virtual. Now, those of you who know the architectures know that this MacBook doesn't have a fan, so it's really, really quiet. But on a Mac M1 Mini, which I'm running in front of me, or an M1 MacBook Pro, these devices are really, really quiet, run really, really cool. Whereas on Intel, the fans go crazy, gets extremely hot when you run architectures like this on a Intel processor. And my experience and some of the comments I've made in the past are about running these virtual machines on an M1. So in this example, I've got a Windows 8 virtual machine as well as ARM Kali running on the M1 Mac Mini. But I think this is where it's really amazing to see all of this running on a MacBook Air. Here's Parallels again. I'll start up Windows 11. So there's Windows 11 running, and it's extremely responsive. So Windows 11 running on. But notice I could go to a website such as Google or somewhere else, and first thing I'll do is download the Brave browser. What you'll notice is it's extremely responsive. I do have to activate this version of Windows, but I mean, this is just a lab, so I'm not worrying about that. But I could run Windows 11 at the same time as other virtual machines. Here's Ubuntu 22.04. And what's amazing here is, please note, I'm running all of these at the same time. Okay, so now let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Honestly, I wouldn't use VirtualBox. I've really struggled to get it working. I've only had like a day and a half to test this at the time of this recording. But in my experience, and I've spent a lot of time trying to get things to work, VirtualBox is definitely still developer preview. I wouldn't use it. I couldn't get Kali to install properly. It kept timing out. So the only devices I could get to work on VirtualBox were small Linux kernels like this. The problem with VirtualBox is it's trying to do emulation rather than virtualization. This is where UTM shines, because in UTM, and I mean, it's amazing, UTM is free. I had reservations about using UTM in the past, but based on like a lot of feedback that many of you have given me, I've given UTM a try, and I'm really impressed with UTM. What UTM allows you to do is it allows you to virtualize using the ARM architecture, so the native CPU architecture, but it also allows you to emulate other architectures on a Mac. Mac M2 or M1 is ARM-based. But as you can see, I'm using really old virtual machines here, like Windows 98. The problem with VirtualBox is it only allows you to run 32-bit versions of the operating system. So it's doing an emulation here. Windows 10, 32-bit. Windows 8, 32-bit. I've tried to run Windows 98 here. It doesn't work. I've tried other versions of Windows. It doesn't work. The same with Linux. If you go to Linux, notice all of these 32-bit operating systems. So it's doing an emulation of other architectures like x64 or x86 on the Mac M1. Doesn't work well. I found that you have constant problems. Like here, I've tried to get Kali to work multiple times. Doesn't work great. Don't know if any of you have got it to work. You've got to mess around with some of the settings to get this thing to work. So if any of you are trying this and you need some help, make sure that you go into acceleration and choose a different type of acceleration. I've tried Hyper-V. I've tried other types of acceleration like Legacy. So Legacy is the one that I found works the best in a lot of cases. Make sure that you set your display to 128 meg if you're having problems with display. But this product is not ready. Nice to play around with, but honestly, in my tests, not worth the trouble using VirtualBox at the moment, especially if you have UTM, which is free. You can buy UTM from the App Store, but you can just download it from their website for free. And you can run all kinds of architectures. So as an example, I could spin up another Kali virtual machine here. I mean, it's crazy how many virtual machines I'm running on this little MacBook. So here's another Kali running within UTM. So runs really well. I've found that ARM works great on UTM. When it comes to emulation, it depends. So if you're going to emulate architectures, Windows 98 works fine. I can pause that, close it, start it up. There's Windows 98, just like that. Very, very good. Here's Windows 8. I'll pause that, works great. I can bring that back. So that works great on UTM. But I found, and perhaps you've had different experiences to me, but I found that when you start getting to Windows 10, it's slower. It's much slower. Please note that this is Windows 10, x64. It's not ARM. So in this case, I found that it's a lot slower. So it takes a while to boot. You can see that it's struggling to boot up. But I mean, I'm doing crazy things here. Okay, so let's talk about Parallels. Parallels, in my experience, is the best.
It's the best. Love it.
Very responsive, very easy to use. So if you want to have sort of the best software, I would say have a look at Parallels. The problem with Parallels is it's paid for software. So you have to pay for it. There's nothing stopping you getting UTM. UTM is great because UTM allows you to support x86, x64 architectures as well as ARM architectures, whereas Parallels doesn't. In Parallels, if you create a new virtual machine, it has to be ARM. You can't use x86 or 64. But it does allow you to very easily install a whole bunch of operating systems, including Kali, including Mac OS, including Windows 11. So you can use Windows 11 ARM directly within Parallels. So if I go WinVer here, notice this is the version of Windows 11 that I'm currently running. But notice it's an ARM version of Windows. It's not x64, which is what I'm using here in UTM. And you'll notice really slow. It's taking x64 and emulating that on the ARM architecture. So UTM, in my experience, struggles with that, even when I'm not running all these crazy amounts of VMs like I'm doing at the moment. Now, I have found that UTM has some restrictions. Doesn't support snapshots like you get in Parallels or VMware Fusion. And that gets to VMware Fusion. VMware Fusion at the moment is free. You can download their tech preview for free directly from their website. So if you just search as an example, I'll put links below, for VMware Fusion M1, you'll find their tech preview. And it runs fine, runs well. The only concern I have here is it may become paid software. Now, VMware Fusion on Intel is free. VMware Workstation Player on Windows is free. But I'm finding that VMware are crippling their software. So if you really want all the features, you need to get the paid version of software. And if you're going to pay, then you need to decide, are you going to go for Parallels or are you going to go for VMware? Okay, so to summarize, VirtualBox is not ready. I wouldn't even look at that unless you just want to play around. UTM is amazing because it's free. It allows you to emulate other architectures directly on the Mac. So you're not restricted to just ARM architectures. You can run crazy old architectures such as Windows 98 within UTM directly on an M1 or M2. You can run Windows. Okay. And obviously Windows 98 wants us to hear that sound now. You can run Windows 10 x64 on UTM, but notice it's struggling here. So you probably don't want to run heavy operating systems like Windows 10 directly within UTM on this kind of architecture. Parallels, I found, is generally the best. It's very, very easy to use, very easy to use. Notice here I'm running Mac within Mac. So this is virtual Mac once again on my physical Mac. Runs really well, easy to use. The issue here is it's paid software, but it does make it very easy to set up. I did find that installing the Parallels tools is harder than, say, on VMware. It's much easier to install VMware tools on Kali on VMware than it is on Parallels. On UTM, you have to do a bit of work to make it work perfectly, but in this example, I did really nothing, and it's working very well. Not as good as Parallels in my experience, but works okay. Probably could optimize it and make it run better. Now, I mean, why stay at one is always my answer. Why only use one? You can try these. You can get VirtualBox for free. You can get VMware Fusion for free. You can get UTM for free. You can get a trial version of Parallels and see which one you like. I probably moving forward will use Parallels for most things, and I'm going to start using UTM a lot more. Very impressed with what UTM has done here. But what do you think? Do you have any recommendations, any experiences that you want to share below? Please put that in the comments below so that you can help me, but also help others, because we all learn from one another. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please like it. Please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel and clicking on the bell to get notifications. I'm David Bombal, and I want to wish you all the very best.